Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, I pride myself in speaking with individuals, businesses, and also how multiple industries are all being transformed by technology. But as a music lover, I came across a great story recently about two musicians, Frank and Ben Perowsky. Both are working as professional musicians, and they got together and decided to launch an Indiegogo campaign. It's a great story, but I don't want to reveal too many spoilers on this one. So buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Brooklyn so we can speak with Ben about his inspirational father and son story and an Indiegogo campaign. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Ben. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, thanks for talking with me today. I'm a drummer living in Brooklyn, New York. A drummer, producer, and a composer, a percussionist. And I just am putting out a record with my father, who's a saxophone player and arranger. He made a big band record, so that's what I'm up to this week. It's quite varied, my life as a drummer. So I'm playing with different people all the time, and I just got off the road with a great singer, and I was in France with a singer named Yoon Sun-na from Korea, and working with different folks all the time. So that's what's happening.
Is the life as a musician on the road, is it as glamorous as it sounds, or not so much so? But I mean, I suppose you are doing what you love, so that's probably glamorous on its own.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's great to play every night. I mean, I'm happiest when I'm playing all the time, so that aspect of it is great and so fulfilling. And sometimes the travel is hard. How travel can be, but. And so, like, sometimes it's glamorous, but it might only be glamorous for about 5 minutes, and then you got to go through security.
Yeah, don't get me started on that one. Now, as you mentioned your dad a few moments ago, who's called Frank. I mean, I believe Frank actually performed with Peggy Lee, Frank Sinatra, and also toured with Liza Minnelli's band for more than 35 years. So music's got to be in your genes. But can you tell me a little bit about those early years of your dad there?
Okay, so my dad grew up in Des Moines, Iowa. He started playing clarinet when he was like a little kid. And soon after he started playing clarinet, he was playing along with Benny Goodman solos. Wind up the Victrola and play along with the record kind of thing. And then, he grew up and he came to New York and to study at Juilliard School of Music in the 50s. And, soon after that, he started working with all these different artists, that's just like you mentioned, Peggy Lee and Sarah Vaughan and Nancy Wilson and Frank Sinatra, and ended up playing with Liza Minnelli for a long time. She was nice to keep that band rolling for so long, And so he played classical. He studied classical music in Juilliard. They didn't really teach jazz back then. But he was going to the clubs like Birdland, places to see Charlie Parker and Bud Powell. And so that was part of the schooling in New York City back then. And so we're really excited because we're going to do the CD release at Birdland in a few days, actually.
Fantastic musical history, but I don't want to dwell too much on the past, because I always think, especially as musicians, it's not where you've been, but it's where you are now and where you're heading that's really exciting. And I recently read that you're now part of a father and son team and together you've got 90 years or 90 plus years experience and success all in the music making business, which is a beautiful thing that you've teamed up with your dad there. But I mean, how did that come about?
Well, I grew up in the house with him playing the sax all the time. I needed to have something to compete, so I started playing. I started banging on pots and pans, when I was like 2 or 3 years old, and eventually I got a drum kit, and we actually played. My first gig playing was playing duets with my dad when I was like 6 years old. We were like the warm-up band for another gig that he was doing. So, so that was the beginning of it, and then it went on from there. And his best friend taught me how to play drums, and I ended up studying music, and now we're and the whole time, I was listening to him writing these big band charts at the piano. So it's a really amazing thing to hear them like kind of come to life right now on this record.
So what was your dad like as a teacher growing up? Was he harsh but fair? I know a lot of parents will say their kids are fantastic when they're not. So did he push you or more encouragement?
Well, I think the cool thing about it was he was very hands off. In fact, because he never played the drums. I don't think I ever saw him sit down at my drum kit once. And I also never ever picked up the saxophone. So it was like you're in your room and I'll be in my room, and then we got together. And the thing is that he gave me great access to his record collection, and but he was teaching a lot. And so one of the things that was happening in high school when I was like come home from school and start practicing the drums, he would be teaching out in the other room. And then after the lesson, the students would come back and play. We would play music in the back. So I played a lot with his students. So I know he was a good teacher because the students were really good. So
excellent. So thankfully, it was nothing like that movie Whiplash. It was nothing like that, no.
I'm so horrified. I've never seen it. I'm afraid to watch it.
Now, the reason you guys appeared on my radar was because I saw that you had an Indiegogo campaign. I mean, can you tell the listeners a little about that and why you turned to technology and crowdsourcing?
Well, with the industry shifting away from record companies, we thought about how we're going to get this record out, and I sort of did the numbers on a few different offers we had. We actually did have a couple of people that were interested, but these days, especially in the jazz world, I guess that there's practically no budgets for making the record, recording the record, and then the manufacturing. Anyway, there's a lot of costs that go into it. And the numbers didn't really add up in the offers so I decided, well, we should just try to put this out ourselves. And then, and then when you start to do that, then the numbers start adding up. And you realize like, wow, I see. Now I understand why the record companies aren't doing this. So this was a way to, with the Indiegogo, you bring your fan base and get them involved in the actual putting out of the record, and the production of it and the manufacturing and the marketing. And so we get people getting them involved. And I think it's a great way to do things. It seems to be working for a lot of folks. So that's where we're trying to do right now.
Now, you mentioned the numbers there, and I would imagine Frank, and indeed yourself, have seen some incredible changes in the music industry over the years. I mean, the record labels with funding are practically non-existent now, and record stores are increasingly a rare breed too. So the crowdfunding landscape is great for creatives to make their voice heard, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. And I've seen friends are having really good success with that. I think it's a great way to go.
How do artists actually stick out from the crowd now and get the attention needed to get their music heard out there? I mean, how much has it changed in that respect, do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because in a way you could say that the shifts in the industry have sort of evened the playing field a lot. And that can be really great, and really also it can be really bad for other maybe established musicians or artists that maybe they're getting swallowed up by all the whole lot of new things that are coming up. But in another sense, I think it's really positive, and it can be a great way to get your stuff out there. I think this record that we're doing, it not only is it old school sounding, but it's kind of old school the way we're going about it. In fact, that we're printing hard copies of CDs, which is like not really fashionable these days,
Yeah, it's like the beauty of the father-son thing, though, because you've got the fusion of the two styles there, haven't you? And you've kind of brought it all together.
Yeah, so we have what's interesting about this project is it's like, yeah, we got the father-son thing, and so like we both put our friends in the band, so it's like a multi-generational band, which is kind of cool. We got like all these old legendary guys that my dad has been working with for decades, and then next to younger new school guys that are coming up, and so it's really interesting.
Oh man, I bet there's some stories at the end of each session there, isn't there? I bet you and the younger guys are just sitting around just soaking it all up.
Totally. I have to try to run the rehearsals a little bit, because we could all just get in there and hang out, and then like 2 hours have passed and we haven't got anything done.
So I've got to ask, why Indiegogo? I mean, what made you turn to that platform out of the numerous options out there?
Well, I guess it was a couple of friends of mine told me that they had good success with it, and if you don't meet your goal, you can still keep all the money. And I thought, well, I don't know if Kickstarter does that, but I didn't research other options that much. Yeah. But because I got such good recommendations from people that had success on Indiegogo, so I just went there. Because I wasn't ready to just put all the energy in and then not get some of the money back from all the work,
Absolutely.
And so we're doing good right now with some expenses, paying some expenses for the marketing and the production of the CD, and so I can't complain. I'd like to reach our goal, because then so much more can happen with pushing this thing forward. It's not just about making the record; it's about following up with it and trying to get on the road and support it. And so me and my dad could go around with all of his charts and go to different schools and play with the local big bands and things like that. So that's the bigger goal,
So I was going to ask, what is the aim of the campaign, and also how are you going to reward those Indiegogo supporters with perks for supporting you in those early days?
Yeah, so we're trying to, aside from like just covering some of the expenses in marketing and manufacturing and the production of everything, and it's a 16-piece band, so if we do a gig, we have to pay everybody, and that so things add up quickly. Aside from that, what we're trying to do is to for me and my dad to go around and support the record and tour around and play with different local big bands all over the world. I've already got some interest in places as far as like Korea, with local big bands. So we just show up with all of his charts, his parts and everything, and then do master classes and concerts with the local band. So that's one thing that I'd like to try to get going with. That's the bigger picture of the goal here. One of the ways that people can, or all the different perks that could come along with when you support the thing, you can get a download of the record, you can get a hard copy of the record, you can get signed CDs, signed posters, a music lesson with my pop or me if you want, and tickets to the CD release party, and yeah, that's about it.
Are there any other ways people listening can help you guys as well, or is it everything involved on the Indiegogo page?
Sure. I mean, just sharing our page up at Indiegogo, or just following us online and Facebook, Instagram, under my name or my dad's name. Any of that is going to help just spreading the word about this, or just listening to this kind of music and just spreading the word is any of that is going to help.
Fantastic. Well, before I let you go, can you remind the listeners of where they can find you on the web, and also how they can contact either of you there if they have any further questions about what we've talked about today?
Sure thing. Well, it's easy to find me and my dad because we're really like the only Perowsky, I think, that I've ever heard of. So it's Perowsky. That's our last name. So if you just go to Indiegogo and type in Frank Perowsky, that's going to be my dad's jazz orchestra debut recording. I have an Instagram page under my name, just Ben Perowsky, and Facebook, Ben Perowsky as well.
Excellent. Well, I'll add all those links to the show notes so people can find you easily. I think it's a fantastic story, especially because of everything that you're doing with your dad and being able to both do what you love and tour the world together and make this music come alive. It's fantastic. So I really do wish you the best for the Indiegogo campaign. I hope you'll come back in 3-4 months. Let me know how it goes. And a big thank you for coming on today and sharing that story.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I generally love this story, and I think we could listen to their stories all night. I think it hammers home just how much has changed since that golden era of music. However, through Indiegogo, they're also proving just how much opportunity is available now to bring musical projects alive by working with the global online community. Now, somebody asked me yesterday that when I asked for feedback at the end of every episode, or for the listeners to share their stories, do I really mean it? And I said, of course I do. That was my response, because it would be pointless recording these daily shows if I didn't communicate directly with you, my audience. So whether it's today's podcast, any podcast, or you just want to shout out those infamous words, I'm a long-time listener and first-time caller, you know where to find me now. You can get me on email at techblogwriter@outlook.com or Twitter at Neil C. Hughes. So close that Facebook app on your phone and say hello now. But while I'm waiting for your further instructions, I will make my excuses and go now, but have no fear, I will return tomorrow. So a genuine thank you from me for listening to the show and tuning in today. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.